Mayor-elect of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, coming out on the stage. Let's listen into the crowd and to his speech.
Thank you, my friends. The sun may have set over our city this evening, but as Eugene Debs once said, I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity. For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands. Fingers bruised from lifting boxes on the warehouse floor, palms calloused from delivery bike handlebars, knuckles scarred with kitchen burns. These are not hands that have been allowed to hold power. And yet, over the last 12 months, you have dared to reach for something greater. Tonight, against all odds, we have grasped it. The future is in our hands. My friends, we have toppled a political dynasty. I wish Andrew Cuomo only the best in private life. But let tonight be the final time I utter his name as we turn the page on a politics that abandons the many and answers only to the few. New York, tonight you have delivered a mandate for change, a mandate for a new kind of politics, a mandate for a city we can afford, and a mandate for a government that delivers exactly that. On January 1st, I will be sworn in as the mayor of New York City. And that is because of you. So before I say anything else, I must say this. Thank you. Thank you to the next generation of New Yorkers who refused to accept that the promise of a better future was a relic of the past. You showed that when politics speaks to you without condescension, we can usher in a new era of leadership. We will fight for you because we are you. Or as we say on Steinway, ana minkum wa ilaykum. Thank you to those so often forgotten by the politics of our city who made this movement their own. I speak of Yemeni bodega owners and Mexican abuelas, Senegalese taxi drivers and Uzbek nurses, Trinidadian line cooks and Ethiopian aunties. Yes, aunties. To every New Yorker in Kensington and Midwood and Hunts Point, know this. This city is your city, and this democracy is yours too. This campaign is about people like Wesley, an $11.99 organizer I met outside of Elmhurst Hospital on Thursday night. A New Yorker who lives elsewhere, who commutes 2 hours each way from Pennsylvania because rent is too expensive in this city. It's about people like the woman I met on the BX 33 years ago, who said to me, I used to love New York, but now it's just where I live. And it's about people like Richard, the taxi driver I went on a 15-day hunger strike with outside of City Hall, who still has to drive his cab 7 days a week. My brother, we are in City Hall now. This victory is for all of them, and it's for all of you. The more than 100,000 volunteers who built this campaign into an unstoppable force. Because of you, we will make this city one that working people can love and live in again. With every door knocked, every petition signature earned, and every hard-earned conversation, you eroded the cynicism that has come to define our politics. Now, I know that I have asked for much from you over this last year. Time and again, you have answered my calls. But I have one final request. New York City, breathe this moment in. We have held our breath for longer than we know. We have held it in anticipation of defeat. Held it because the air has been knocked out of our lungs too many times to count. Held it because we cannot afford to exhale. Thanks to all of those who sacrificed so much, we are breathing in the air of a city that has been reborn. To my campaign team, who believed when no one else did, and who took an electoral project and turned it into so much more, I will never be able to express the depth of my gratitude. You can sleep now. To my parents, Mama and Baba, you have made me into the man I am today. I am so proud to be your son. And to my incredible wife, Rama, Hayati, there is no one I would rather have by my side in this moment and in every moment. To every New Yorker, whether you voted for me, for one of my opponents, or felt too disappointed by politics to vote at all, thank you for the opportunity to prove myself worthy of your trust. I will wake each morning with a singular purpose: to make this city better for you than it was the day before. There are many who thought this day would never come, who feared that we would be condemned only to a future of less, with every election consigning us simply to more of the same. And there are others who see politics today as too cruel for the flame of hope to still burn. New York, we have answered those fears. Tonight, we have spoken in a clear voice. Hope is alive. Hope is a decision that tens of thousands of New Yorkers made day after day, volunteer shift after volunteer shift, despite attack ad after attack ad. More than 1 million of us stood in our churches, in gymnasiums, in community centers as we filled in the ledger of democracy. And while we cast our ballots alone, we chose hope together. Hope over tyranny. Hope over big money and small ideas. Hope over despair. We won because New Yorkers allowed themselves to hope that the impossible could be made possible. And we won because we insisted that no longer would politics be something that is done to us. Now it is something that we do. Standing before you, I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance. Tonight we have stepped out from the old into the new. So let us speak now with clarity and conviction that cannot be misunderstood about what this new age will deliver and for whom. This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Fiorella LaGuardia. An agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Make buses fast and free. And deliver universal child care across our city. Years from now, may our only regret be that this day took so long to come. This new age will be one of relentless improvement. We will hire thousands more teachers. We will cut waste from a bloated bureaucracy. We will work tirelessly to make lights shine again in the hallways of NYCHA developments where they have long flickered. Safety and justice will go hand in hand as we work with police officers to reduce crime and create a department of community safety that tackles the mental health crisis and homelessness crises head on. Excellence will become the expectation across government, not the exception. In this new age we make for ourselves, we will refuse to allow those who traffic in division and hate to pit us against one another. In this moment of political darkness, New York will be the light. Here, we believe in standing up for those we love. Whether you are an immigrant, a member of the trans community, one of the many black women that Donald Trump has fired from a federal job, a single mom still waiting for the cost of groceries to go down, or anyone else with their back against the wall, your struggle is ours too. And we will build a city hall that stands steadfast alongside Jewish New Yorkers and does not waver in the fight against the scourge of anti-Semitism. Where the more than 1 million Muslims know that they belong. Not just in the 5 boroughs of this city, but in the halls of power. No more will New York be a city where you can traffic in Islamophobia and win an election. This new age will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone. Now, I know that many have heard our message only through the prism of misinformation. Tens of millions of dollars have been spent to redefine reality and to convince our neighbors that this new age is something that should frighten them. As has so often occurred, the billionaire class has sought to convince those making $30 an hour that their enemies are those earning $20 an hour. They want the people to fight amongst ourselves so that we remain distracted from the work of remaking a long broken system. We refuse to let them dictate the rules of the game anymore. They can play by the same rules as the rest of us. Together, we will usher in a generation of change. And if we embrace this brave new course, rather than fleeing from it, we can respond to oligarchy and authoritarianism with the strength it fears, not the appeasement it craves. After all, if anyone can show a nation betrayed by Donald Trump how to defeat him, it is the city that gave rise to him. And if there is any way to terrify a despot, it is by dismantling the very conditions that allowed him to accumulate power. This is not only how we stop Trump, it's how we stop the next one. So, Donald Trump, since I know you're watching, I have 4 words for you. Turn the volume up. We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed. New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants, and as of tonight, led by an immigrant. So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us. When we enter City Hall in 58 days, expectations will be high. We will meet them. A great New Yorker once said that while you campaign in poetry, you govern in prose. If that must be true, Let the prose we write still rhyme, and let us build a shining city for all. And we must chart a new path, as bold as the one we have already traveled. After all, the conventional wisdom would tell you that I am far from the perfect candidate. I am young, despite my best efforts to grow older. I am Muslim. I am a democratic socialist. And most damning of all, I refuse to apologize for any of this. And yet, if tonight teaches us anything, it is that convention has held us back. We have bowed at the altar of caution, and we have paid a mighty price. Too many working people cannot recognize themselves in our party. And too many among us have turned to the right for answers to why they've been left behind. We will leave mediocrity in our past. No longer will we have to open a history book for proof that Democrats can dare to be great. Our greatness will be anything but abstract. It will be felt by every rent-stabilized tenant who wakes up on the first of every month, knowing the amount they're going to pay hasn't soared since the month before. It will be felt by each grandparent who can afford to stay in the home they have worked for, and whose grandchildren live nearby because the cost of childcare didn't send them to Long Island. It will be felt by the single mother who is safe on her commute and whose bus runs fast enough that she doesn't have to rush school drop-off to make it to work on time. And it will be felt when New Yorkers open their newspapers in the morning and read headlines of success, not scandal. Most of all, it will be felt by each New Yorker when the city they love finally loves them back. Together, New York, we're going to freeze the... Together, New York, we're going to make buses fast and... Together, New York, we're going to deliver universal... Let the words we've spoken together, the dreams we've dreamt together, become the agenda we deliver together. New York, this power, it's yours. This city belongs to you. Thank you.
Gavin MAMDANI, next mayor of New York City. And John, what do you make of that speech?
Well, look, I've got divided reactions from my friends to this speech. First of all, you got to give the guy the credit. He defeated Democratic Party royalty, the Cuomos. That's a royal family in our party. Defeated them. Defeated the oligarchs and rich folks who jumped in to try to stop him, and then defeated Donald Trump. So the triumphalism that you see there is earned. A year ago, nobody ever heard of the guy. And the younger people who I'm hearing from feel a great deal of relief and pride, and they're fired up, and they feel they've been silenced for too long. So that speech appealed to some. But I think he missed an opportunity. I think the MAMDANI that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that MAMDANI is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great interviews and stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight, and there was some other voice on stage. That said, he's very young, and he just pulled off something that's very, very difficult. And I wouldn't write him off, but I think he missed an opportunity to open himself up tonight, and I think that will probably cost him going forward.
Scott?
Oh, are you saying he wasn't the unifying voice of a generation that you predicted mere moments ago? Axe, where was the man that you predicted would not slice and dice the? Look, guys, he started his speech by quoting Eugene Debs, who ran for president of the United States 5 times as the Socialist Party of America candidate. He repeatedly attacked people in this. No, I know my socialists. I keep a close eye on them.
Yeah,
I work here. So here's the thing. He went after everybody that he thinks is a problem. People who own things, people who have businesses. He said an interesting quote: "No problem too large for government to solve."
Or too small, important.
And so when you think of the world that way, that every problem, no matter how small or how large, is something for government to do, let me just decipher this for you. Tax increases as far as the eye can see, which means the people who need to provide jobs to the young people that you say need jobs are going to flee as quickly as they possibly can. I think this was a divisive speech, and he clearly sees the world in terms of the people who are oppressing you and the oppressed. And he said the oppressed are now in City Hall.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, I say this was very much for his opening marquee speech a wholesale defense of socialism. And oftentimes people run as democratic socialists, but try to talk a little more about economic populism. Democrats have needed their version of like the left-wing Donald Trump, who could talk about affordability, but back it by their policies. This was, I mean, he was just rattling through the points that we'd expect while in the economic capital of the world, New York City. But he also did a remarkable job of setting the highest possible expectations for himself. This is a very young, untested gentleman. He was a state assemblyman. He's 34 years old. He wants to run an economy the size of Japan or South Korea here in New York City. And he's basically saying the most grandiose expectations of what he's going to do, ignoring that he has to work with Albany. He has to work with the state assembly to get the bulk of it done.
By the way, we are anticipating Governor Gavin Newsom from California in a minute. So
can I add one thing, by the way, as the politics? And you've done this, so I'd love your opinion.
I'd love to give it.
This guy did not sound like a mayor. He put every old guard national Democrat on notice. This man sounded like a national candidate. Half the speech was talking to Donald Trump.
Listen, I agree with everything that Van said about that speech. I was disappointed by it because this was his big introduction to the city as the new mayor, and I think he could have, if he had approached it the way he did so much of his communications. This was a shouted speech, not a talk with the city on the night of his election, ushering in a new era. But let me say that, and I was happy to hear him with a full-throated denunciation of anti-Semitism. I was happy to hear him talk about working side by side with the police to reduce crime and violence. But the one thing that I will say that I'm happy about is to hear Scott Jennings talk about how he is repulsed by divisive speech. and I think that everyone should note this, and I think you should carry it forward and use that index to judge all of our leaders.
I'm repulsed by socialist speech, is what I am repulsed by.
So you can be as divisive as you want.
But you gotta admit, by spending the back half of the speech screaming into the camera at Donald Trump, that is the mark of someone who has national ambitions.
I think you're trying to be a telepath here. But let me just speak.
I was before he spoke.
I can't speak for the Mamdani supporters. I want to speak up for. Notice for them, though. Notice that the joy and the excitement in that room. I think that people have felt unheard and unseen.
Yeah.
Especially some of the younger people. And when he's talking about the people with the bruised hands and the burned hands, and then being able to reach for something greater. he's speaking to something very deep in people, because the sense that the American dream is now out of reach and that working people don't matter and that they can just be automated away, AI'd away, gigged away. He's speaking to a real, the tone was a little bit off,
Yeah.
but the substance of
No, look,
your dreams
this
matter,
is,
I think that matters.
and you know, for all you said, Alyssa, the fact is everyone here is going to go home to great comfort tonight. Everyone at this table is going to go home to great comfort tonight. There are a lot of people in this city, there are a lot of people in this country who have to worry every single day about how they're going to meet their bills. And that is a crisis for the city and a crisis for the country. So the fact that he is addressing those things is an important thing. Did he address it in the way I would have? No.
To be honest with you, it felt Trumpian. He started by saying he dare not say the name of Cuomo again, saying he's not even going to say his name again. Juxtapose that to Abigail Spanberger, who took a moment to acknowledge Winsome Sears' service and to thank her for running a good race. There was a moment to rise to the occasion. He did not choose.
Let's go back to Jake in D.C. Jake.
All right, thanks so much, guys. So taking that in, that was quite a stem winder of a speech from Mayor-elect Mamdani, where he was really... I think Van Jones' analysis was interesting, talking about how it wasn't the smiley uniter necessarily, but more of a firebrand.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost as if he was listening to Casey Hunt talking about the point that you made right before he spoke about the fact that maybe the bookends or the geographical bookends with him in New York City and Gavin Newsom in California, the push among the Democratic base, members of the Democratic base, for their leaders to stop following the rules. The rules would dictate the guy who just won the most important city in America, maybe even globally, that he would say, I'm going to unite, let's reach out to everybody. He did in some ways, but he also was incredibly defiant in his defense of democratic socialism.
He's incredibly smart to have done what he just did. So he clearly made a choice to speak to his base, to his supporters. That was a "we told you so." You all told us we couldn't do this, and we did. And I'm proud to be a socialist in this. And to Scott's point, quoting Debs, who ran for that was a I am who I am. I am who I am, and I'm not backing down. Yeah. So it was a defiant speech and a proud speech and a little bit of an in-your-face speech to the people, whether they're Democrats or Trump, to anyone who opposed him. The bigger challenge is, how does he set these? He's an aspirational guy.
Yeah.
When I was in New York, the young people think, whoa, do they think he's going to do everything? No, but he set a high bar, and he himself said he was setting high expectations. How does he deliver? The New York City mayor does not have a ton of power when it comes to generating all the revenue he's going to need to pay for what he wants to do. So he's going to ask the Democratic governor and the Democratic Assembly to raise taxes as they head into their next election cycle.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
And so how does he, look, we'll watch this. He decided to do what he did tonight. I don't disagree with anything that was said. He made a conscious decision, I think, to be defiant and to be bold and to be ambitious. The challenge is going to come is what happens 6 months from now and a year from now as he actually tries to govern. Can he accomplish these things? And then what happens if he can't? Does he become a pragmatist? Does he make compromises? Does he explain that? Or does he continue to say, I want it all?
And this really underscores the choice that is facing the Democratic Party going forward. I mean, they had a great night tonight across the board. All types of their candidates did really well. But it doesn't mean that this tension between the guy who goes on that stage, defiant, quotes Eugene V. Debs right out of the gate, which, let's be real, he's a rookie candidate, right? He's a young guy. He's new to this. He made a decision that that's what he's going to say out of the gate, right? A moment like this one that he had tonight, this is the biggest moment that he has had yet on the national stage, and it is absolutely a choice to lead with that. And the Democrats are going to have to decide, Kevin, what version they want.
So here is Governor Gavin Newsom, another successful
Well, good evening, everybody. And let me underscore, it's been a good evening for everybody, not just the Democratic Party. But what a night for the Democratic Party. A party that is in its ascendancy. A party that's on its toes, no longer on its heels. From coast to coast, sea to shining sea. But it was not just a victory tonight for the Democratic Party. It was a victory for the United States of America, for the people of this country and the principles that our founding fathers lived and died for. And so we're proud. We're proud here in California to be part of this narrative this evening. We're proud of the work that the people of the state of California did tonight to send a powerful message to an historic president. Donald Trump is an historic president. He is the most historically unpopular president in modern history. In every critical category, Donald Trump is underwater. He promised to make us healthier. He promised to make us wealthier. We're sicker and poorer. And he fundamentally understands that. Why else would he call Greg Abbott saying he's entitled to 5 seats? Why else is he trying to rig the midterm elections before one single vote is even cast? He understands his position at this moment in the United States of America. One thing he never counted on, though, was the state of California. Instead of agonizing over the state of our nation, we organized in an unprecedented way in a 90-day sprint. People from all over the United States of America contributed their voices and their support for this initiative. We stood tall and we stood firm in response to Donald Trump's recklessness. And tonight, after poking the bear, this bear roared with an unprecedented turnout in a special election with an extraordinary result. None of us, however, are naive. This is a pattern. This is a practice. Donald Trump's efforts to rig the midterm election continue to this day. And I'll reinforce that in just a moment. You're seeing him take action all across this country, not just in Texas. You saw what they were successful able to do in Missouri, what they did in North Carolina, what they're trying to do in Indiana, and inevitably in Florida. They are not screwing around. In June of this year, we saw 4,000 National Guard federalized in the state of California. We saw 700 active duty Marines not sent overseas, but sent to the second largest city in the United States of America to militarize our streets. We said in June this was a preview of things to come. What more evidence do you need than what happened in Washington, D.C., what's happening up in Portland, cities like Chicago? When we kicked off this campaign just 90 or so days ago in Little Tokyo, in Southern California, in LA, at the Democracy Center, Donald Trump sent Greg Bovino. He sent his private police force that increasingly appears to have taken an oath of office to Donald Trump, not to the Constitution of the United States. He sent them to our kickoff rally to chill free expression, to chill free speech, to intimidate people from participating. Just today, in Los Angeles, Donald Trump called up the Border Patrol, sent them to Dodger Stadium, and threw a fastball at free speech, right at the head, free expression, to suppress the vote in America's second largest city. Just did that today. People in tactical gears sent out to intimidate a community that is already on edge. But you see, as we speak, people are still in line. People waiting up 3 hours to cast their vote, to send a message to Donald Trump. No crowns, no thrones, no kings. That's what this victory represents. It's a victory for the people of the state of California and the United States of America. And this is a victory that's punctuated with a sober reminder that it's not just the actions that Donald Trump has taken to federalize our guard, to begin the process of militarizing American cities, to intimidate free expression and speech by utilizing ICE and Border Patrol in American cities. But he also announced today, right when polls were opening, that this election was rigged. That this election was rigged. Of course, those are familiar words. It's exactly what Donald Trump said after January 6th, that day of love, where he tried to light democracy on fire. He tried to wreck this country, and he called in to the Secretary of State in Georgia, calling up for 11, 12,000 votes, just like he called Greg Abbott, saying he's entitled to those 5 seats. He said this election was rigged, and he's moving to look for criminal prosecution and investigations at the Department of Justice. He is not screwing around. So tonight, I'm proud, but I'm very mindful and sober of the moment we are living in. Donald Trump does not believe in fair and free elections, period and full stop. This is not complicated, and it's self-evident to anyone paying attention. You start to stack up all of these actions that continue to this moment and will continue in moments to come. If you think I'm exaggerating, consider his announcement just a few weeks ago to send rapid response teams all across the United States, in all 50 states, tens of thousands of members of the military prepared for urban deployment. A preview of things to come. But back to this state. Our state of mind was resolute. Our state of mind was resolved to stand firm and to stand tall, to not be intimidated, to not be humiliated, to not fall prey to cynicism, to not fall prey to fear and the anxiety of someone that believes in only one thing, shock and awe, to intimidate and exhaust us. But we're seeing all across this country, 7 million people strong, standing up, not just for themselves, but for each other and for the rule of law. Mr. President, the rule of law, not the rule of dawn. And I hope it's dawning on people. The sobriety of this moment, what's at stake. Tonight, as I said, is an extraordinary moment for our party. But again, it's an extraordinary moment affirming those principles. Our founding fathers did not live and die to see the kind of vandalism to this republic and our democracy that Donald Trump is trying to perpetuate. And so my call tonight, in the spirit of Whitman, we talked about the powerful play, goes on. We all must contribute a verse. And so we need the state of Virginia. We need the state of Maryland. We need our friends in New York, in Illinois, in Colorado. We need to see other states with their remarkable leaders that have been doing remarkable things meet this moment head on as well, to recognize what we're up against in 2026. And let me make this crystal clear. We can de facto end Donald Trump's presidency as we know it the minute Speaker Jeffries gets sworn in as Speaker of the House of Representatives. It is all on the line, a bright line in 2026. And so I want to thank everybody that stood up, not just for our democracy, but stood up for those that have feel bullied and intimidated, stood up for this notion of co-equal branches of government and a system of checks and balances. And I want to thank my wife, who reminds me every single day that this is about those that feel alone, those that feel isolated, those that feel an anxiety and a stress that they never could have imagined in their lives. This was about saying to them, we have your back, we see you, you matter, we care. And I'll just say this, I'm confident as we move forward into 2026 in this country, the best is yet to come. Thank you very much.
What's the lesson for other Democrats from tonight? Do you think President Trump will hear the message?
All right, CNN's Alex Michelson trying to get some questions in there for California Governor Gavin Newsom, giving a rather sober speech. One might even call it the first speech of the 2028 campaign. What did you think?
It was definitely more focused on 2026, which I guess is, in effect, if you do well in 2026, and he's a part of it, that sets him up for 2028. But the warnings that he gave, using what President Trump put on his social platform tonight, saying that the vote in California was unconstitutional, and weaving that into what we're hearing from other Democrats, what the Trump Justice Department is doing in making moves ahead of the 2026 election, that was very striking. And I think we're going to hear a lot more about that. And
Casey, you've been texting with folks on a chain, your sources, about the Democratic message coming out of this night of victories coast to coast. We've covered the governor's race in New Jersey and in Virginia, the mayor's race in New York, the Prop 50 referendum in California, but it goes much, much deeper than that, down to the school board level, Democrats just winning all sorts of races.
Right, really broad and really deep. And as you mentioned, some of my sources agreed to do what we do on nights like this in public, right? Text each other and have a conversation about this. And I had asked a version of the question that you saw our Alex Michelson ask right there, which is what lessons should national Democrats take away from the campaign? And we'll kind of let it play out for you. But Liz Smith was one of the people who joined us. She, of course, is really a Democratic, she's like a dogfighter of a campaign operative, right? She works for Andrew Cuomo, and she's been kind of touting MAMDANI and his successes. And she says that Democrats have learned, or should take away, that one, people are sick of the status quo when they are force-fed subpar candidates and told to vote or else. And two, the Democrats need to meet voters where they are and talk about the things that keep them up at night, like how unaffordable life is on every level. And she went back and forth with Maria Comella, who is a Democratic operative in New Jersey, who has some other things to say. But I think that sets up the conversation we're going to have here well. I mean, the basic bottom line here, that candidates matter quite a bit, and it's not enough to just be against Donald Trump. You have to be for something, too.
And should we bring in Ken Martin, the chairman of the Democratic National Committee, who joins us now? What do you think the message is? Because obviously we've gotten very different messages. You have Newsom, who is trying to present himself as something of a statesman, talking about people who feel alone and isolated. You had Spanberger and Mikey Sherrill running more moderate, centrist, suburban campaigns. And then you have Zohran Mamdani, a firebrand socialist, giving a very aspirational, bold and defiant speech.
Look, American voters sent a clear message tonight throughout the nation, right? They rejected the extremism of the Republican Party. They elected Democrats. And, you know, while people want to focus on the differences in this big tent party of ours, what's really clear is that there's a through line. When you think about Zohran Mamdani, Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill, and other Democrats who were successful on the ballot tonight, they focused on those kitchen table issues. They didn't focus on the gilded ballrooms and the marble, fixtures. What they focused in on was squarely an agenda that they ran for something. And I agree with my friend Liz Smith on this, which is, at the end of the day, what people want in this country right now is people who are going to stand up, fight for them and their families, give them a chance, give them an opportunity. And, you know, the reason we've been successful, right, not just tonight, it was a blue sweep, by the way. It was an amazing victory. Not just those two big governor's races. In Pennsylvania, we kept those 3 Supreme Court races. Of course, Prop 50 in California. In Maine, we defeated that constitutional amendment that would have infringed on people's voting rights. In Georgia, we won the first 2 statewide races, non-federal races, in over 20 years, right? We saw a huge swing with voters throughout this country. Young voters moved back to the Democratic Party in a big way. Independent voters broke on a 2-to-1 rate for Democrats across the board this evening. What this suggests right now is not just that we win on an anti-Trump message. We have to present something positive. We have to give them a sense of what we're fighting for and why. And I've been saying that. I said that in my race for chair. I've been saying that all year, which is why we've overperformed at a historic rate, 45 elections on the ballot since tonight. before tonight, and we overperformed at a record rate, 16 percentage points on average. And you see the huge overperformance tonight. The Democratic Party is back. And the message to Republicans right now is you better figure it out, because the old playbook that you have running on all these cultural issues, no one gives a shit about that. What they care about right now is they care about the kitchen table issues. They care about the fact that they can't afford their rent. They can't afford their groceries. They're worried about health care. They're worried about how they're going to actually get ahead in life, and they want someone to stand up and fight.
Well, I hear what you're saying. That those are a lot of those issues are the reasons why Trump won last November.
Of course. And
right?
guess what?
The
No, you're
affordability
right.
issues.
You're right. And guess what? They did vote for him on that, and he lied to them. He hasn't done one thing since he was inaugurated to actually deliver on those promises. So there's no doubt that that anti-Trump sentiment is huge in this country right now. He's at an all-time low of 37%. But let's not take away from the candidate's positive message, whether it was Zoran Mamdani, Abigail Spanberger, Mikey Sherrill. They ran for something. They gave the American voters in their states, they gave them a value proposition. Vote for us, and here's what we would do to actually improve your lives. And that's the difference here. Now, we're going to keep calling out Donald Trump because clearly he hasn't delivered on those promises at all. All he cares about is the rich, the powerful, and the well-connected in this country. We're going to keep fighting for average, everyday working people.
So, Ken, what's the plan between now and Election Day 2026?
Keep winning. The plan
besides that, how do you do that?
The plan is to keep our foot on the gas, to not to take anything for granted, to get out there and do what we've been doing all year long. The DNC was the first committee out there doing direct voter contact, having conversations with voters, making sure we're engaging them earlier than ever before in a conversation around their hopes, their dreams, what type of communities they want, and then centering that in our messaging, making sure that we're reflecting what's happening in this country, in our agenda. And clearly across the country, people are rejecting the extremism of the Republican Party and embracing this new Democratic Party that's focused on their economic
Republicans are going to say that Democrats are leading with a socialist. What's your answer to that? I mean, Zoran Mamdani opened with a quote from Eugene V. Debs.
Look, they're going to call us socialists no matter who is in our party. I've said this all along. We are a big tent party. We have conservative Democrats, centrists, we have progressives, and we have leftists. We win elections through addition, not subtraction. We win by growing our coalition and bringing people in. And we need different faces and different candidates in different places and spaces around the country to win. Right? I'm going to reject this idea that there's one way or one stripe to be a Democrat. That's how we lose. When people say, well, you have to be this stripe of candidate. Now, the type of candidate that you need in New York is certainly much different than the type of Democrat you need in a Virginia or in a New Jersey. So I just reject the premise of that. It takes all of us, and that's why we're going to win, because this new Democratic Party is not going to push people out. We're going to invite people
So
in.
you say new Democratic Party. And I can't help but notice that Governor-elect Sherrill is 53. And Governor-elect Spanberger is 46, and Mayor-elect Mamdani is 34. Your party, though, has a lot of people in it who just will not retire. They're in their 70s, they're in their 80s. There's a New York Magazine story about it right now, about all the members of the House and Senate in your party, in particular, who just won't retire. Is the age of your candidates that won tonight, Gavin Newsom's fairly young himself also, is that also part of what's going on here?
Look, it's not a question of age, because at the end of the day, what people want, right, is they want fighters. The divide right now in our party is not ideological, nor is it age. The divide right now is between those who are fighting and those who are sitting on the sidelines. I reject this idea. There's plenty of older elected officials and older candidates, frankly, who are fighting. And what Democrats want, and frankly what Americans want right now, is fighters. People are going to stand up and use the power they have to actually fight for their communities, fight for their families. That's the true divide right now. So I reject this ageism that's out there, right? There's plenty of young people who are elected to office who are doing nothing, right, with the power they have, just like there are plenty of older candidates and elected officials who are using the power they have to make a difference. So look, I understand what you're saying. What people want is fighters, and we need more fighters in the Democratic Party, and you saw those fighters emerge tonight in races across the country.
Ken Martin, congratulations. Your party had quite a night.
We're back.
All right. A victorious night for Democrats, winning 2 governor's mansions, Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, Michael Sherrill in New Jersey, Zoran Mamdani securing a historic trailblazing victory in the New York City's mayor race, and a big win in California for Democrats who had voters approve a new U.S. House map. Our coverage continues with CNN's Abby Phillip in New York.